Ooh.
Yeah, I know. So let's dive into this because
The not fun part.
the not
about
fun.
owning a
Yeah.
whiskey company.
It can be fun.
Can it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Days.
So I want to hear. Oh, some days. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm your host, Jeff Zart. We're going to take you behind the scenes with the craft distillers who are pouring their heart and soul into crafting the next version of America's Spirit. This is the Great American Whiskey Cookers. What do cows have to do with starting a whiskey company? Well, in the case of Pursuit Spirits, it seems it was one of the key selling points to Kenny Coleman and Ryan Cecil, securing the loan they needed to get their whiskey company off the ground. If you want to hear the full story, check out the video.
Welcome to this edition of the Great American Whiskey Cookers. If you haven't already, like us on Facebook, YouTube, go to our website, or you can kick it up and go to our Patreon page, become a member. We'd really appreciate the support and love. Today, we are in Louisville, Kentucky, and we're at Pursuit Spirits. I'm talking with Kenny and Ryan, and we're talking business. So let's talk business, and what does it take to run this business company? Because you guys don't have large investors. You're bootstrapping this, right? You guys started with your own money.
Correct.
And how much?
Yeah, so we scraped together $15,000 between us two, as we talked about with our first product line Pursuit series.
Right.
Our goal was to buy like a barrel, and we ended up buying three barrels
For 15 grand.
For 15 grand.
At the time.
Do you remember the conversation we had on the way home? We're like, how are we going to afford all this?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was like what, $3,000 to $4,000 a barrel, and we're going, what the hell did we
Yeah.
get ourselves into?
And at the time, we didn't even have like the name registered with the government. We didn't have the proper licensing with the state. We didn't have anything.
We didn't have a bottle design. We didn't have labels. All we knew is we just bought some barrels.
You had to do all that. You had to come up with a label design. You had to figure out your bottles. All right, what's that like? How much stress and pressure is it? And how much does it cost? Because you're buying the barrel, but does that include the bottle?
Oh, no.
Definitely not.
I mean, to be fair, we're way more stressed now than I think we were when we bought those first three barrels.
And where'd you buy them at?
So it was from our broker in a relationship that we had in Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, we had the ability to go and select the barrels, which was great, but we didn't know what we were going to do with them. I remember sitting down there the first time, and I think we had 8 barrels to choose from, 8 or 12, and we really left 3 of them, and we're going, we gotta keep them. We can't let anybody else take these. So put some stickers on them, and we said, don't worry, the check will be in the mail. Yeah, it doesn't have to leave, but we'll.
And they bought that?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good handshake relationships that are built in this business.
Okay. All right.
And they were used to moving hundreds of barrels a day, so for them to hold on to 3 was
No big deal.
no big deal, thankfully.
Yeah, thankfully. But yeah, then the process really builds. I mean, we came from no experience whatsoever in building a brand, especially trying to build a whiskey company, of what it's going to take to actually source bottles, source labels, do the design, do the government regulations, get approval, everything. We've learned it all from the ground up. And yeah, we've had a few phone calls that we had to make things a little bit easier. For the most part, we've cut our teeth the hard way and learned everything by failing first.
You should be consultants. I mean, you should.
I guarantee you we can consult.
Yeah, but we were fortunate too with the great relationships we established through the podcast. So anytime we had questions or, like, what the heck do we do here? We could always rely on our friends in the industry to kind of guide us and help us along. So we had that kind of base in our hole with our connections in the industry to kind of help us keep pushing forward, know what the next step is. And they've been very supportive of us, and that's why we continue to be supportive of the industry as a whole.
And I've noticed that within the whiskey industry, it's a very friendly, competitive industry, and everybody seems to help themselves, right, or help each other along the way. So you buy these first barrels, 3 barrels, 15 grand, right? Then you got to buy the bottles and stuff, and so you sell the barrels, and then what happens?
Well,
You sell the bottles from.
sell the bottles, yeah. I mean, and this is, by the way, we also have to give a little bit of a nod because Blake over at Sealbox was the original way that we had to do this. We knew that we couldn't do traditional distribution because we have a nationwide audience. And if we were to say, we'll sell these only in the state of Kentucky at one retailer, or to 2 states, it wouldn't have hit our market. It wouldn't have hit the people that are fans of us. So we had to figure out a way to get these in the hands of people across the country. And this was at the time when Blake was just starting Sealbox.com. For me that's not familiar with it, it's just craft spirits, but all online. And we were a true stress test for them.
Yeah, we were customer number 1.
Yeah.
We really?
Yeah.
Yeah, of being able to sell full barrels at a time. This is at a time when if you have a Shopify app on your phone and you run a Shopify store and you get a sale, you get a notification. It's like, ding.
Yep.
And it's like, oh yeah, I made a sale. But when a barrel goes on sale to an audience of 1,000 people and there's only 150 bottles in that barrel, ding, 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 like it goes off. And so once you start getting that, now you got to figure out, well, how can I got to get this out the door. And this was, again, it was a true stress test. It took almost 3 months for people to get bottles in hands. And he was running out of a small, I think it was
like a
storage unit at the time. It wasn't even like a real warehouse. So it was one person literally packing hundreds of bottles to be able to get these barrels out. But anyway, like I said, I got to give him a little bit of credit because of that was our initial route to market, to be able to get bottles in hands of our fans at the very first point.
What does it take to start a true whiskey company of your own brand?
Yeah, so we
Needed
started
some money,
we needed
right?
some money, but we started small. So like when we did our first small batch release, it was only 10 barrels. And so we had, from the previous sales of our Pursuit series, we had saved the money and bought those initial 10 barrels. And we had a great relationship with our broker. He also bottled everything. So we would select the barrels that we'd want. We would have great payment terms to where we only had to pay him after it was bottled. And
That's nice.
so it gave us very flexible payment terms.
I forgot about those.
and
Man, those
so
were good days.
Those were good days. Because that's not what's typical in this industry. Typically, if you want barrels, they want cash that day before they transfer them over to you in your name. And so, but once we did a pilot launch of our first release of 10 barrels and it sold out within about a month, we knew we had, a small batch product that we could start scaling. And we really relied on Kenny's spreadsheet mastery and going out to our partner distilleries that we decided to work with and saying, okay, we started doing a 10-year roadmap and working our way backwards of like, okay, here's where we think we'll be at 10 years, which for us, we want to be a 50,000 6-pack brand. How much new make do we need to lay down to reach that? And how much do we need from new make to 1, 2, 3, 4 to bridge that gap? And so it was really him working his spreadsheet skills and doing a financial roadmap and building out those models of like not only what's the whiskey going to cost, but what's all the taxes, the marketing, the overhead, the sales force, like the overhead, everything. And so you build these pro formas to kind of figure out, okay, here's the roadmap. Now let's go do it. And let's go present this to a bank or institution that can help us. But we had to prove that model first. And so what we did, we proved it with the first couple releases, and we raised money from friends and family. We raised about $2 million from friends and family. They didn't get any equity. They were just loans on barrels that they give us the money to buy the new make, and then we'll pay them back in 4.5 to 5 years
With interest?
With interest,
Yep.
yes. And so that was a great way for us to get those new make contracts, get those started, because they want, so they make your whiskey, you got to pay them, or it's not theirs, or it's not yours. And so from there, kind of ran out of people I knew with money. After we kind of reached a peak of raising money for friends and family, we were actually sought after by some banks, some big national banks who get into beverage lending. They lend on barrels. Barrels are appreciating assets. They increase in value every year as it gets older. And so banks start getting comfortable lending on them, doing interest-only loans. And so we had big national banks approaching us, but being a relationship guy, I have a ton of friends in Bardstown that their parents are on a board, and I had a small community bank, and I had relationships. And so I said, I'd really love to bring this home to people I know. And so I presented them, what other banks were offering us in far as lending. And I said, would you all be willing to do this with us? And they said, yeah. And it took some, obviously convincing and showing, thank God Kenny's a spreadsheet master. Like the bankers were like,
I've never seen anything like this.
Spreadsheets are so elaborate. Based on that, we're going to lend you the money because our like underwriters can't even understand them. They're so advanced. And so it was funny having those conversations. But yeah, we're spending, to build out that future roadmap, we're spending $1.2 million just in new make whiskey. And so that's money you have to invest now, and you're waiting 4, 6, 10 years.
And are you spending that every year?
Correct. Yeah. Amongst our 4 partner distilleries, that's how much we're spending. And then with that, you have storage fees and insurance. And so it's about $3.50 a barrel we pay every month. So we have about 5,000 barrels in inventory. So our storage fees are very expensive monthly. And 2, we have the interest payments on those barrels. And so it's just a lot of money going out the door, that on stuff that we can't even sell. And so it's just it's a very capital intensive business and a long putt. As somebody has told me,
That would be a long putt. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think one thing you need to tell is when we talk to this bank, you got to tell the cow story.
Oh yeah. Well,
the cow story.
Some of the board members were skeptical because it was a new class of lending, for a bank, and I looked at them and I was like, guys, you all lend money on cows, and the damn cows can walk off a field, they can get sick, they can die. The barrels just sit in a warehouse, and if they get struck by lightning or burned, we all get paid on it. So, what's the problem?
You actually said this as a banker.
And it actually they were like, you're right. So that's what helped push the deal on. So
there you go. You need a couple $1 million, you use cows. Cows isn't. That's a great analogy. I never really thought about it. Yeah. So what is and these are personal loans.
Yeah. Well, right. So they're protected by the barrels as the barrels.
That's the collateral.
Collateral, yes. So if for some reason we can't bottle them under our own brand, the demand's not there, then we can sell them to a broker who can broker them out to other brands who source whiskey and whatnot. So, it's daunting, when you try to convince your spouse, like, we got to go $8 million in debt to build this baby. But what made me feel comfortable, and Kenny as well, is that, okay, if worst comes to worst, we just sell the barrels, to a broker and get, and pay those loans off and whatnot. So we're not just like blindly putting money down and hoping it all works out. So there's a path, of the worst case scenario.
Yeah. So so it's about an $8 million debt load.
That's what we're in right now.
That's where you're at right now.
Yeah. It's always increasing.
Sure.
By the week, it seems.
What's the pro forma for when you're going to go from being in the red to being in the black? I mean, when are you thinking that's going to happen?
The good thing is we've mapped this out a few different ways. We've done it with being able to just go traditional distribution. We've done it with being able to have our spot that we're building on Whiskey Row. And the good thing is that the Whiskey Row location will help us excel this a lot faster to be able to get to profitability. And the way that we kind of see it is that we start actually bankrolling it probably around like 2030 to 2032. So it's really not too far off in the distant future. One of the things that we did at the very beginning was to make sure that we had 4, 3, 2, 1 in new make. So we try to bridge that gap to make sure that we would have whiskey to sell for the next few years. But we put a lot of the heavy investment into the new make side, because as we start continuing to scale, and if we can, and to be fair, we're making razor thin margins on everything that we have been doing for a while. Mm-hmm. But once our new make whiskey comes online, our margins start increasing.
Sure.
That we can start now putting towards the principal on all these loans.
Explain the 4-3-2-1 process. What is that?
Yeah, so when we created our initial blend, we knew that what we had in the bottle was fantastic. And so we went back to our distilling partners and I said, I need your 4-year, your 3-year, your 2-year, and your 1-year. I'm gonna buy it all now. So we have the whiskey lined up for the next few years. And so
got it.
That initial capital that we did raise went to go and buy those barrels. So that secured what we needed as we started ramping up. We made a very poignant effort to say, well, we don't want to just go and do 20,000 cases the next year.
Right.
You've got to have a ramp up. You got to have a slow build. You've got to make sure that people know about it. They're seeking it out, because the last thing you want to do is try to go nationwide, put it on the shelves everywhere, run yourself rampant with trying to go and sell in every single corner store, and all of a sudden your brand dies because people don't know about it. Like, you've got to have the slow build, it's the slow momentum, and there's no overnight success in this business. Everything takes years because it just takes marketing and, just as the industry says, liquid to lips, and they've got to be able to try it first before they continue to become a fan for life. I'm frugal. Like, I'm a very frugal person. And so I said, if I cannot pay myself as long as I possibly can to make sure that the business becomes no longer in debt, and then all of a sudden all we're running off of is basically just profitability and putting our expenses back in, and then we're still profitable at the end of the year, then that's going to be a very healthy business. So I want to make sure that we dig ourselves out of this hole as fast as possible.
Sure.
Yeah, and there's a few ways, you can build, a whiskey company. You can go out, get as big and as fast as possible, leverage, double down, spend a ton on marketing, and, and the goal that way is to really get acquired, as fast as possible, and build out the scale, the sales and distribution side. And for us, we really want to build a business that's profitable and something that we could keep long-term, something that we could pass generational. Now, I'm not saying we won't ever sell, but that wasn't our intention from the get-go. It's a passion project. We're passionate about the whiskey. We want to put the best whiskey into a bottle, and we feel like that long-term will lead to long-term success.
Fantastic. Where do they find you? How do they get in touch with you? How do they get your spirit? And where do they find the podcast?
You take this one.
Yeah, so you can find us. We're in 12 markets now, continually growing, but the best resource for that is on our website, pursuitspirits.com. You can go to the store locator. We try to keep it up to date as much as possible. Also online at sealbox.com. If you're in Kentucky, please come, and you're doing the Bourbon Trail, please come see us here in Louisville at our facility. We have a great experiences for whiskey geeks, whiskey fans who want to, we don't have a tour that we can show you like distillery, but we're all about highlighting
mash and fermentation tanks, right?
Yeah, we special tanks or any of that, but we make it all about the
and get to the good part.
So please come by and see us. And two, if you want to hear us, learn our whole history, check out our podcast, Bourbon Pursuit. It's on every major platform for podcasts. And also, we have a podcast called Behind the Pursuit, where you can hear, if you want to learn more about what it takes to build a bourbon brand. We record these every couple weeks and talk about marketing, government regulations, TTV, loans, all the business side, what it takes to actually start a brand. Because as a consumer, you just see it on the shelf and you don't understand all the steps that it takes to actually get to on the shelf. And it's a lot of processes, a lot of work to actually get your bottle onto a shelf. So we kind of wanted to showcase that to people because it's something that consumers necessarily don't understand.
Yeah, that's great. Kenny, Ryan, thank you very much. I'm out, so I'm going to have to go get me some more here pretty soon here. So thanks for doing this and talking to us.
One last cheers.
Yeah, indeed. I'm Jeff for the Great American Whiskey Cookers. Until next time, can't be good. Be good at it. See ya.
Cheers. A lot of bottles that we get sent to review and taste from everybody. Obviously, we can't get to it all. So this is the bottles that we tried for whiskey quickies and reviews, and then we have a whole nother room of cook calls and stuff that get sent to us. So we got enough bottles for about 10 pandemics.